Well, we are still catching our breath from one of the most special nights of a special Spurs season. A 25-point deficit erased in the third quarter. Julian Champagnie willing this team back with 17 points in the third period. And then down the stretch, San Antonio paving ahead for one of the best wins of this season. A 25-point deficit overcome is the largest comeback of the season, the second largest since 1996-97. You see this team, it's tough to keep them down. It's better than that 19-point comeback on New Year's Eve. How about that 18-pointer in the Cup game against the Denver Nuggets? But everybody's going to remember when the Spurs came back from 25 down with less than 10 to go in the third quarter. This was one of the loudest I've heard this building in years, and it ends in a special Spurs win. Victor Wembanyama just said it was one of the hardest games he's ever played in his life. He was visibly emotional here at center court. I saw him with some tears in his eyes. Jacob Toby and Sean Elliott, you guys had a front row seat to it. This was one of the more magical nights we've seen in this building.
Yeah, magic was the word I chose as well, Nate, because that's what it was. There was no life, down 25. The Clippers were hustling to every loose ball, getting all the offensive rebounds, making all their shots. It just completely flipped midway through that third quarter. And then one of the best teams in the NBA showed up to play, and they won in front of their home crowd again.
Reminded me of the games I saw with Manu, Tim, and Tony, where they were down, and they were never out of it. And so our guys just continued to battle, and even when Kawhi got that steal and goes the other direction, you're like, oh boy, we made this comeback, and maybe it's going to be for naught. But our guys just did a phenomenal job here. We'll take a look at this free throw, and this is what I was talking about. Freeze it right here. This is the Victor effect, because it's not just on the defensive end, the offensive end, but Benedict Mathurin here, I believe that's who it is, right here. His job as this high guy on the free throw line is to cut off Steph Castle. But they both go to get Victor off the glass. They're so concerned about him. That's a good box out there that you allow Steph Castle to sneak right down the middle of the paint for an easy offensive rebound and put back. And so, Victor, even though he's really not involved in the play, he still makes a difference there. Heads up play there by Steph Castle to get the offensive rebound and put back. And it's hard for me to recall when I've seen a game like this. I mean, I've seen a lot of them, but boy, we looked dead there in that first half and made a terrific comeback.
There was some good fortune there. Nick Batum stepping out of bounds when he caught the ball.
Yeah.
Johnson getting to call a timeout before an offensive foul on Devin Vassell. 2 times in a row, Champagnie misses a free throw. He gets his offensive rebound. Steph Castle, you just talked about it, gets the miss off his offensive rebound. So there was some good luck. You have to be lucky sometimes when you're a really good team.
Yeah, you have to be lucky, right? They say it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
We were good and lucky tonight. And you're exactly right. We needed everything to go right there to win that ball game. And it seemed like the maestro, we're going to call him Maestro Mitch now, just pressed all the right buttons. The timeout was huge, obviously, but inserting Carter Bryant in and allowing him to go out there and just play. A lot of big blocks, the big dunk, the huge 3-ball. I mean, like I've said, forget about the numbers. To me, he's the player of the night.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments in this game that will make you smile and will make you nervous as well when we were watching this game. You go through the list of things, but that's just what this team is going to have to go through. That's, a playoff type win just because you're never down, you're never out.
In the first half, Brook Lopez, he looked like a combination of Jack Sickler.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Larry Bird there on the perimeter. He was just getting it done and reverted back to the old Brook Lopez in the low block in the third quarter happening. Julian Champagnie gets on a heater. Huge 3 there by Keldon in the third quarter. Carter Bryant, that's a huge dunk. You can hear the crowd response there. And like I said, you get a little tired. You don't have any energy. Your legs are a little wobbly. You had an emotional game last night. But then that crowd starts getting juiced up, and you forget you're tired. That goes right out the window, and you find some energy. You find something, and our guys capitalized off that and made the plays they had to down the stretch.
Score by quarter. The Spurs outscoring the Clippers by 15 in the fourth. They've been a great fourth quarter team all season long. And again, De'Aaron Fox came through in the clutch in the fourth quarter as well. Every single person contributed in this win tonight.
They got back to moving the basketball there in the second half. 70 points in the second half compared to 46 in the first. So our guys figured it out. Obviously, they were a little tired to start the ball game, maybe a little weary from last night's win. But coming out of the locker room, they figured out we got to start playing, and they found the right formula. It started with Julian. A lot of other guys came along for the ride. De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter. You named it. I mean, there were heroes all the way around.
13 of 14 wins. Pretty good.
Not bad. I mean, this is one of those games where you really start to believe. Like, our guys could really,
did I say 14 to 15?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I mean, our guys could really do something here. They're learning, and this game is only going to make them better. They're getting better and better.
Never a doubt. It was never a doubt. Nate, right? Never a doubt. Can I say that?
Yeah, absolutely. Mitch Johnson is the maestro, but we all just saw right there why Sean Elliott is the ninja with the telestrator breaking down that putback. I mean, that seal off there. That's fantastic, right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, you know, Nate.
Absolutely, you're carving it up with. I'm looking at all the lines. You're breaking it down for me in the film room, gentlemen. Enjoy a much-needed weekend in San Antonio. What a night at the Frost Bank Center. The Spurs eradicating a 25-point second-half lead, the second-largest comeback in franchise history. A big part of it, the Fox, 19 points, 9 assists. We're continuing to tie a ribbon around the epic comeback. Well, I know those folks aren't sleeping tonight. I'm not kidding. I'm down here courtside at the Frost Bank Center. I can still hear "Go Spurs, Go" chants from inside the concourse. A night these folks soon will not forget. The Spurs wiping away a 25-point second-half lead on the backs of these three gentlemen. Victor Wembanyama said he was one of the hardest played games he's ever had in his career. Julian Champagnie, 20 points, but 17 of them in the third quarter. He whittled that deficit down. He had 4 made triples. And then De'Aaron Fox, what else can you say about Mr. Clutch? 19 points, 10 of those in closing time as the Spurs wrap up their third consecutive win. This team continuing to go streaking. Now they're just doing it here on the home court. They're going to play again coming up on Sunday night. They're going to host the Houston Rockets. But we talked in game about Mitch Johnson, the maestro, going up against his old college teammate and Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez had a solid night tonight, but it was the maestro's team coming away with the victory. Here was the head man.
Pretty happy room. Yeah. Down by 25, second night of a back-to-back. What can you say about huge comeback like that?
Yeah, that's a lot of character. A lot of character. We, the casual opinion would have shrugged their shoulders if the first half continued in the second half. To your point, hard-fought game last night, second night of back-to-back. Guys are banged up. Clippers, good team. Whatever. And the competitive response and the character that I thought the guys showed to really try to band together and fight through the mental, the physical, and emotional fatigue was commendable.
That awareness and hustle by Julian and Castle to track down those misses.
It's kind of probably the best reflection or symbolism of the game. We weren't at our best. You probably would have not ever booked that or stamped that for your perfect execution in that moment. And sometimes you just need the wherewithal and the fight and that thing in there to finish the job.
Vic just said on the court that he felt like he was going to pass out for part of the game, and that this is one of the hardest games he's been through. Were you aware of how fatigued he was? Is that part of why he didn't play as much down the stretch?
That wasn't why. We had a plan going into this game. Again, we pushed him to his limits last night and what that was. And as we've been all year, mindful of that. And the plan was executed. And I think we also realized after his first stretch to start the game, that was probably the max of a stint that he was looking at tonight. We were looking at short bursts because we wanted him to be in a stance and play defense and run the floor and screen and offense, rebound, all those things. So we'd rather sacrifice the stint than the effort. But the minutes, that was a plan that was executed.
And how do you feel Steph did on his night against Kawhi? That seemed to be a pretty big assignment for him.
Yeah, I thought he wasn't at his best, and I thought he was in the game and was a huge part of why we finished the job, and that's what this league calls for.
Carter Bryant has talked a lot about watching Kawhi growing up, sort of modeling his game after him. It seemed like one of his most impactful games of his career. What did you get from him in this fourth quarter, his energy and tenacity?
Yeah, those are two good words. You just use energy, tenacity. I think he's just trusting his instincts. And I think his decision-making and pattern recognition and wisdom will continue to grow. But right now, I'd like him to keep doubling down on the instincts with the activity and the tenacity and the energy.
You used him a little bit as a small ball five for a quick stretch there. What were you looking for in that stretch, and is that something that you see as a potential use for him?
I definitely think it's a potential use for him. I do think it's unfair to get too broad in what we're asking him to do right now. I think that's probably more of a byproduct of the Victor minutes and not also overrunning Luke. So I think it's definitely something we'd like to grow. I love the idea of it, but I also want him to just keep on hitting singles and killing it like he is.
De'Aaron came up big scoring-wise, but he also had that rifle pass to Wemby for the dunk that put you guys ahead for good. What'd you see on that play, just his awareness?
Yeah, I thought, and obviously in the fourth quarter, he took over the game just in terms of how he was kind of managing the game on the court and was kind of dictating the game in terms of we played fast. We got at times we had to slow down just to get organized. We got everybody in the right spots. We had the matchups that we were trying to get to, and he was a monster at that. And I think he, if I'm not mistaken, ran the whole fourth. And so to do that with everything he's done in the last 48 hours is very impressive.
Sean Elliott called Carter Bryant his player of the game just minutes ago. Mitch Johnson saying he loves how he's doubling down on his instincts. Defensively, Carter told me a couple weeks ago, he said, listen, offensively, my game is going to come. But defensively, I know if I can lock up, I'll be able to make it in this league. Tonight, locking up one of the best players in the association and the former Spur, Kawhi Leonard, obviously hit that straightaway three and that thunderous two-hand alley-oop dunk to light the crowd up here at the Frost Bank Center. Carter Bryant certainly making a name for himself with this team, with this fan base. It's one of the loudest I heard the Frost Bank Center all season long. With tonight's win, the Spurs get a half game back on the Oklahoma City Thunder, the need for seed as we hit the stretch run. OKC's got a game tomorrow night. They're going to host the Golden State Warriors, but a bit of a tricky stretch coming up for OKC. They got the Warriors on Saturday night. Then next week, they've got dates with the Nuggets, the Celtics, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have leapfrogged the Houston Rockets. Houston's going to be in this building come Sunday night. The Nuggets are going to be here next Thursday night. So a week from now, these numbers could very well look a lot different than they do right now. A lot of these teams going to be playing each other. The Spurs win over the Clippers gives them the win in their only meeting so far this year. Spurs are going to travel to Los Angeles for 2 games at the Intuit Dome before we're all set and done. But what a night here at the Frost Bank Center. The Spurs flexing their muscle down the stretch. Sean said it too. This is one of those games that makes you believe. You think these folks understand the assignment? All silver and black. Spurs have won 3 straight. Stay hot. 116-112. The Spurs get it done. Their 3rd consecutive victory. What a welcome home to San Antonio it's been for this team tonight. I said the loudest I've heard the Frost Bank Center all season long. It felt like a playoff energy, playoff atmosphere. This is the kind of win that can help you believe down the stretch. I mean, the words championship title, Sean Elliott threw those around on the pregame show, and I think a lot more people walking out on the concourse are doing a lot more of the same. The Spurs erasing a 25-point deficit, the 2nd largest comeback since 1996 for this organization. I mean, they were out on the road all month of February, 8-1 on the rodeo road trip, and they've come back with 2 back-to-back wins, one against the East leading Pistons, tonight against a tough Clippers squad.